is on the front pages of our papers this morning. It's the last Friday in the month of October, and it poses a lot for a lot of people. I won't go deep into that, but they know. If you know, you know. All right, it's time for us to look through the major stories as I mentioned earlier on, and we'll be having Fuad Saheed join via the phone line to give analysis to the stories we'll be treating this morning. So we'll do this up until about 8:30, and by 8:30 we'll take a short commercial break. We're back by 8:40, carry on the conversation, but this time you get to share your thoughts as regards the focal points of the day. Today being Friday, we don't have the luxury of, ending mainland focus at 9:45. So we'll try to be as, let's try to manage our time as much as possible. Would really, really appreciate that. Well, a lot has happened in recent times. Of course, the hottest conversation right now is the cabinet reshuffle, and it's just, sweet conversations all around. The reassignment of 10 ministers, the discharge of 5 ministers, nomination for 7 new others, transition of some ministries into commissions, and so many other things, to discuss. The conversation continues today. Of course, that's because that's the major headline on the front page of the Punch newspaper. But before we, delve deep into all of that, the CAF awards are out, and Player of the Year, I think we have 2 Nigerians on the table for that. We're super proud of that. We're super proud of them, rather. We have Ademola Lookman and William Trustekong. Congratulations to them. We hope, at least if we have 2 people we have 2 people on the ballot, at least one of them should be able to, come home with something. Aside from that, we also have, goalkeeper of the year. Yes, I think we also got that. And even our Super Eagles also got team of the year as well. So there's just a lot to talk about that. And aside from the cabinet reshuffle, another hot topic, of course, on the lips of a lot of Nigerians is the deadline on circulation of old Naira notes, whether or not. But there's been a press release. We'll dig deep into that as well as we look into the stories for today on trends in the papers. So much to look forward to. My name is Omobola Sandra, and you are welcome. This is Trends in the Papers. Good morning, Fuad. How are you doing? And thank God it's Friday.
Yeah, good morning, Sandra. I'm very good. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you very much. I'm feeling very, very good at this time. I have new notes. I don't know, but I just want to put that out there. I'm grateful I have new notes. But then there's a press release from the CBN, by the way, as regards, the Naira notes conversation. So, what we have here is the attention of the Central Bank of Nigeria has been drawn to discussions at different fora, suggesting that the old series of the 200, 500 Naira and 1,000 Naira banknotes shall cease to be legal tender on December 31st, 2024. We wish to state categorically that such claims are false and circulated to disrupt the country's payment system. For the avoidance of doubt, the order of the Supreme Court of Nigeria on Wednesday, November 29, 2023, granting the prayer of the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice to extend the use of old Naira banknotes and ad infinitum subsists. Ad infinitum, meaning carry on till whenever, is possible. Am I right, Fuad?
That has been clarified, so there's nothing more to add to that.
All right.
If the CBN is telling you that there's nothing true about that particular story, or let's just call it rumor. Yeah. So we just leave it at that. So let's keep spending. Although I think the House of Reps, also in particular committee in the House of Reps, is urging the CBN to release more new notes. You have these mutilated, very dirty notes circulating, and one would expect that at least we should.
But if releasing of new notes, there was no specification as regards whether it's the old design or new design. So new notes can be anything. Well, I don't think
it can be anything really. But one would expect that if it's going to be a new note, it should come in the new design. Because I thought that by now that we will phase out the old design, the gradual process.
A gradual thing.
Yes, phasing out of the old notes. Old design actually, and then have more new design in new notes. So, but again, even when we get our new note now, we see it in the hand of workers, that's the only time you're able to.
True.
And they're able to make a lot of money from people by selling the notes. So how they get it and other Nigerians cannot get it is what I do.
Yeah. Well, Fuad, there's also something I'd like to call our attention to, although, it's been refuted. Simon Ekpa is causing some inconveniences, on the X platform.
It's a deranged mind.
I don't understand. So Simon Ekpa posted on his X page that the World Bank and IMF have agreed to loan Biafra Republic government in exile $57.5 billion, and that Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala was the one that facilitated the loan. And Yeleni had to quickly just, what's going on here?
And have you seen Simon Ekpa's response to what Okonjo also?
Oh, no, I haven't. Please, pray tell.
Full of emotional blackmail. He had actually denied that post, that he didn't post anything.
Oh, please, we have screenshots.
When he says denying it, but what is now, if he had denied and just left it at that, say, I didn't post anything as such, but he now went on and on to say, he's happy that at least Madam Okonjo can reply to this now, and
can you imagine?
Voice out on something like this, whereas she had kept quiet all the while that they've been talking about the price of the people of the South. It's not just emotional. Given that you brought up this issue, it's something I don't really want to talk about.
Just look past it.
I can't be talking about anarchists. People who are just very happy to cause trouble, people who are deranged in their minds and thinking, who stay quietly somewhere enjoying their lives and encouraging people to kill themselves and cause acting at all. Those are individuals that we should not be talking about, really. Let's just move on.
Yes, thank you very much. Of course, just as you have, mentioned, Okonjo-Iweala had to respond, say no sensible person
would be. We're in the world of
very important that she had to.
And we have a mob on social media that believes anything.
Just recently.
That's how ridiculous things are on social media.
Somebody was attacked for wishing somebody happy birthday, so I think it's
so people will believe it, and then they start to circulate, so she has to do the next, and then that's other person started. I mean, nonsense.
All right.
As usual.
Well,
the woman emotionally. Nonsense.
Finally, as we move on to the stories for today, it's also important for us to, acknowledge the unfortunate passing of former electoral boss Humphrey Nwosu, who passed yesterday at the age of 83. And I'm sure a lot of people would remember Humphrey Nwosu as the INEC umpire, or electoral umpire, at the very debatable election in 1993, which has been, tagged as the most free, or the freest, the fairest, and, the most credible election, according to a lot of sources, ever in the history of the country. So we wish his family the fortitude to bear the loss.
That's it. Humphrey Nwosu will continue to be in our mind as that electoral umpire that stood for truth in the face of what you can call a stylish military tyranny. Like somebody giving you a job and also wishing you bad and hoping that you will not do the job well. That's not booby traps for you to fall into it. When you give somebody a job and in your mind you don't want the person to succeed on the job, and you start to plan some manner of things. It's one error that I think people that are even older than us can talk about, really. But the man's true self did what he needed to do, and today we remember him as a man of honor. God bless his soul.
Thank you very much, Said Fuad. Time check right now is 7:51 a.m. and you are listening to Mainland 98.3 FM. It's time for trends in the papers. We'll kick things off with the Punch newspaper. The major headline, of course, being the cabinet reshuffle. Presidency defends Tinubu as federal government slashes ministers, vehicles and aids. And we have here a rider that says federal government differs as Clark and others allege lopsidedness, and Tinubu seeks Senate confirmation. So I mentioned earlier on, the conversation around, there's been a cabinet reshuffle where the president approved the reassignment of 10 ministers to new portfolios. It discharged about 5, which tomorrow... I don't know. I just feel a type of way about Mrs. Uju, but I wish her all the best. I nominated 7 new others for onward transmission to the Senate for confirmation. There's also, the renaming of the Minister of the Niger Delta. NDDC to the Ministry of Regional Development. So all the regional development that have been newly established would ride under that. And then there's a scrapping of the Ministry of Sports Development to come under the Nigeria Sports Commission. And then there's the merging of the Ministries of Tourism and Arts and Culture to become the Federal Ministry of Arts, Culture, Tourism, and the Creative Economy. All right. So as it is now, this was from the Federal Executive Council, the 19th meeting of the Federal Executive Council at the State House. Now, we have here reactions. There was quite a lot of reactions to it. Oh, is this a good one? Is this the president listening to the voice of the people, that some of these ministers aren't doing anything? Can we just have some other people who can actually get the job done? Well, as it is now, the conversation has now moved from whether or not, or why there had to be that reshuffle. The conversation is now on the new people who have come on board and the fact that, the equity conversation has come up again. For example, Ogun State reportedly has 4 ministers. Defense release that we have here, I think I'll just quickly take that. Oh no. That's not on that. Okay, so in trying to defend this particular one now, of course, there's been conversations coming in, coming out, but the appointment of the 4 Ogun ministers has raised eyebrows in some quarters. Some opinion or opine that it fell short of the federal character criteria for appointments. All right, and the chairman of the Senate Committee on Federal Character, Orwell Onyeso, that's PDP Rivers East, acknowledged that while federal character was a constitutional matter, it wasn't the sole criterion for selecting ministers and other high-level public office holders. Oh, we should look at competence. He said, and I quote, "Yes, federal character is an important issue, and I'm sure the president would not want to go against the Constitution. However, what the Constitution states is that 1 person per state. So once that has been met, I'm not sure there should be an issue. Fuad, we need competent people, and federal character shouldn't be the only requirement." Do you agree with Mr. Orwell?
Well, yes, I agree to some extent. I also think that as much as we want to continue to preach about competence when it comes to things like this, appointment and spread, and what it takes really to create some form of balance when it comes to federal appointments and what have you. We also have to pay attention to our own peculiarities. We can't just switch those things away and think it doesn't matter, because again, we are talking of a very diverse nation. We are talking of a multi-ethnic nation that has a lot of healing to do. Again, I don't know why Ogun State is having 4 ministers. I think the president will still have to give more explanation on that.
Could you come closer to your mouthpiece so we can...
Can you hear me? Is it better now?
Okay, thank you. Yes, carry on.
Yeah, so I don't know why Ogun State has 4 ministers. I really don't know.
We have
say.
Great people.
And so?
We have good people, great people.
So you people are the people that have great people.
Well, I mean, I didn't say that. I'm just saying.
We have good people. That's going to be the argument now for that. Again, but the reality is this. The constitution is clear as to what the president can do and cannot do when it comes to appointment of ministers. And I said that, look, the appointment has to be spread.
So what he's saying is that as long as each state already has produced someone,
so any other thing that the president does not matter.
That's what he's saying.
So far as able to fulfill that constitutional provision of having 1 per state appointed as minister, every other thing is an addendum.
That's yes.
At his discretion.
That's what Orwell is saying.
And we can't even fall that kind of argument, because that's what we have in the Constitution.
Yeah.
But again, for sake of equity, fairness, and justice, people are going to continue to raise questions. That was one of the things that was also talked about severally during the Buhari administration, the lopsided kind of appointment to a particular region. You understand, was also one conversation that people talked about. Severally, Buhari was said to be tarnished, and he only wanted to work with his own people. But again, I think the most important part of ministerial appointment should be competence, really. Where are the guys we are appointing? And then why do we have to have 50 ministers? It's also one question we have not been able to answer. And then this idea of policy somersault, it was the same president that separated Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Creative Economy. Separated them, now he has brought them
back
together.
Oh.
And then while he's doing that, one as we had said before, that there was no need really of creating a separate unit for livestock development. It could have just been a department under the Ministry of Agriculture.
We still have
that. The president, sorry?
We still have that.
Yeah, so it's just strange that out of the Ministry of Agriculture, again, we are creating a particular ministry for livestock development. And I saw when the ministry was inaugurated, the Ministry of Agriculture was also one of the speakers. And I'm like, how are they going to work together? And what's going to be the difference in functions and approach to agricultural development? That's also, but the most controversial one, Sandra, is the scrapping of the Ministry of Niger Delta. As much as we want to say that ministry has not really achieved so much, or whether the NDPs or what have you, but to now scrap it, to now say, okay, we are going to have one ministry that coordinates all the development commissions. What it now means is that, look, in the past that the Niger Delta people used to have somebody from the region becoming the minister of that ministry. This new regional ministry can go to any region. So that's what Ivan Clark is saying, that look, why they are demanding for more in terms of government patronage, allocation, and resources, and what have you, you're also taking what we already have from us. Whether those things are functionally help the region is another conversation. But what the other statement is saying is that look, we are still talking about, well, you giving us more, you are taking what we have away from us. And then the question again is, why do we need a ministry or a minister to supervise the development commission? Why do we need a minister to do that? Why do we need a whole ministry just to supervise what is happening at the development commission? So, but again, this is what we have. Let's see how it's going to help us when it comes to nation building. At the end of the day, at the end of 4 years, we'll be able to see what this ambition has been able to achieve this year already.
Now let's go into the ⴰsorry reports, Fuad, because a lot of people have been looking forward to seeing, some scrapping and looking at seeing some mergers. That was, and then when this happened, we said, okay, maybe this was a step in that direction, but there's still that conversation as regards the high number that we have. Yeah. So is this really in line with the ⴰsorry reports? Is this
never?
Is this what?
Never. You know that even this presidency set up a committee to come up with a framework for the implementation of the report. Yeah. And if you remember, there were already suggestions as to what they were trying to do in terms of merging some ministries, parastatals, MDAs. Are you aware that we have not even implemented those things? The committee sat, I think, for how many weeks, and they've given their report. And until now, there are no clear directions towards implementation of the ⴰsorry report. We removed 5 ministers. We added 7 to it. From 48 to taking it to 50. And we're also making some other appointments. Special advisors have been appointed. On the issue of information management for the presidency alone, Sandra, if you know the number of persons we have as appointees, as special advisors, special advisors, and almost all doing the same thing. In fact, doing the same thing practically. At some point, during July, and by another, we're almost even having clash because they are almost doing the same job. Now, the former Minister of Sports, Sunday Dare, has been brought in again as part of the information management team of the president. So, the appointment is getting better. And so, when it comes to the issue of cutting down the cost of governance, really, following the part of the ⴰsorry report recommendations, I think this government is not, like any other government before it, I've not shown any serious commitment to implementing that report.
Well, because we had looked at the fact that the ⴰsorry report was supposed to give us some sort of respite as regards, cost of governance. A bloated cycle. But now we have 7 new ministers that are still pending confirmation, and I think about a few others have already gotten their, portfolio. 10 new ministers, 7 new ministerial appointees that has yet to be nominated or pending confirmation. Yes, we have Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, Ogun State. We have Adekunle Salako, Ogun State. We have Bosun Tijani, Ogun State, and then we had one previous Ogun State minister who.
Ogun State. Development for Ogun
Thank you very much. We're grateful.
All the roads in Ogun State
will now start working. Yes, that's very good. That's how it is. So, so Dr. Jumoke Edun is expected to join Mr. Wale Edun in the Ministry of Finance. Dr. Adekunle Salako will be the new Minister of State for Health. I was previously Minister of State, but then Bosun Tijani, Minister of Communications, and
something happened with those sacked ministers. How do you sack a Minister of State and not sack the minister, the main minister?
So is this still on the competence conversation?
You understand? You sack the main person and not you sack the deputy and not the main person. The Minister of State is supposed to be like a deputy, really.
Yes.
Supervising and helping the main minister. And here you sack the Minister of State and you leave the main minister. And in terms of sacking, Sandra, there are people that should be sacked too. There are a lot of ministers that should have been sacked.
I was going to come there, but let not be as if what's your own self. No, but if it's about competence, Fuad, I think I agree with you. If it's about competence, that these people are not doing their job, I think we have almost 20 others that will be on this table gallantly.
At least I can remember some of them.
It's okay.
The two ministers of defense should have gone.
It's okay.
Both the Minister of Defense and Minister of State for Defense. Both.
It's all right.
The Minister of what was it called? Blue and Marine Ocean Economy. Should be gone.
Well, this back to this conversation as regards Minister of State's education. I think we should just have a conversation about that. What could have informed that particular movement is something that we need to. But thankfully, we have put an end to the Edugate conversation. And there is a minister. Yes, so Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Poverty Reduction is now Mohammed Dingyadi, a man for the first time.
I just hope he's not going to run into trouble too. That minister has become a problematic one because of the not too clear policy direction that brought about the creation of that particular ministry. It's just the ministry of throwing monies around. And when it comes to accountability, most of the ministers, at least 2 ministers have held that position and run into some form of trouble.
All right, there's still a lot to discuss as regards this. Let's go now to the reduction of cost, or trying to reduce costs, still on this particular conversation. 5 minutes past 8, and you're listening to Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM. So there's also the president has also restricted ministers of state, heads of agencies to a maximum of 3 vehicles in their official convoys. Aside from that, there's a lot. So let's see what we have here. No additional vehicles will be assigned to them for movement. We also have here that entourage. Yes, there's also a reduction in entourage on foreign trips. So from 50 to 20. I'm still asking why 20 people have to follow, a minister for traveling. I'm still wondering why, but it's okay. At least, we're going somewhere. Anyways, for foreign trips.
Remember the minister that had I think the Geneva woman, that's somebody that will go there as a personal assistant, maybe helping to carry bags and personal effects.
No, but I think you can have a personal assistant going with you on certain trips. But that's I think, was it COP28? No, it wasn't COP. It was the labor. Yes, it was the labor conference that we were seeing some interesting. Anyways, for foreign trips, 50 to 20 officials. For local trips, is now it has been reduced to 25. We also have here that the security team will comprise 4 police officers and 1 DSS officer. No additional security will be added. So all affected officials are expected to comply with these new measures immediately, underscoring the urgency and seriousness of these measures. And in Bayonanuga's words, and trying to, make it seem very, very beautiful and glamorous, there's a State House press release as regards directives on reduction in cost of governance. President Bola Tinubu has restricted ministers of state, and heads of agencies of the federal government to a maximum of 3 vehicles in their official convoys. No additional vehicles will be assigned to them for movement. The cost-cutting measure was announced in a statement signed by the president. In January this year, the president took significant steps to reduce government expenditure by reducing his entourage on foreign trips from 50 to 20, and for local trips he reduced it to 25. He also reduced the vice president's entourage to 5 officials on foreign trips and 15 for local trips. And he has ordered all ministers and heads of agencies and ministers of state to have at most 5 security personnel. Security team comprised 4 police officers, 1 DSS. He has instructed the National Security Advisor to engage with the military, the paramilitary, and security agencies to determine a suitable reduction in their vehicle and security personnel deployment. All affected officials are expected to comply. Bayananuga, Special Advisor to the President, Fuad, we're cutting cost of governance. But, engaging 10 more ministers.
Sandra, when it comes to presidential directives, you already know my opinion on that. Especially with this particular president, most times these directives comes and ends like mere headliners, just to make the headlines, get the people excited, and at the end of the day, nothing changes. So we'll have to wait. I'm sure a lot of people are going to put be on the lookout really to see what is going to change when the ministers are moving around. Because I have seen Mr. Jᴏɪᴜ move around, and if you know the number of cars, vehicles, convoy, you understand that. Look, we have to now be on the lookout to see if anything is going to change really. If you understand what I'm saying, change in the sense that we'll now see whether it's going to be just 3 cars. Because again, what this press release is saying is that no additional vehicles will be allocated to them. But one of the ones that have been allocated to them already, are they going to withdraw it? When you say no additional vehicle will be allocated to them, that means you are already thinking of not giving them more cars. But the question now is that for those who already have long convoys as ministers, so are you going to withdraw the vehicles from them? Or they'll still keep it and they can use it at random, randomly. Or pick today this one, today pick that one tomorrow. And when it comes to convoys and people moving with ministers and all of these government appointees, sometimes they will tell you that it's not necessarily their convoy. Or it's just some civil servants who have joined us on the movement. But again, you understand what I'm saying? And they also know that's not it's just some, when you see the convoy of the president, they might tell you that, look, it's just 10 vehicles that actually the official convoy. But these other people are big governors, politicians, who have now joined, and you now see almost like 200 vehicles running after the president at once. But at the end of the day, let's see how this works really, even though this is merely scratching the surface when it comes to the real issues of cutting down the cost of governance. Until we show some commitment to implement the ⴘ report, which we are just been toying with, I don't think anybody would take this administration serious on the issue of trying to cut down the cost of governance. So, but we'll see. Maybe all around now, we'll do videos. I'm sure our people are on the lookout. They're going to be doing videos when ministers are moving around, and we're going to see whether anything has reduced.
It's okay. All right, we have here some reactions actually to some certain things that we have heard in recent times. We have a former president of the Nigerian Bar Association, Dr. Olusegun SAN, said there's no law that stopped the Nigerian president from appointing more than 1 minister from his state, that it was the president's prerogative to appoint any number of persons from his state to serve as ministers. We also have another lawyer, Ebolu Adegboruwa SAN, explained that the constitution stipulated that in appointing ministers, each state of the federation must have representatives. Even though there was no requirement for equality in the number of ministers, the situation where one state had 4 ministers and another had only 1 was not good enough, and it's something that definitely I should talk about. All right, we also have May Akintola SAN also saying the position of Section 14 was very clear on the general rule as to give each state 1 minister. He said, and I quote, "The president has complied with the requirement of the law, the constitution, but where you have discretion, you can use discretion. Discretion is not mandatory, but a duty is mandatory." And he further stated that the duty of the president was to ensure that no state should be without a minister. He said, and I quote, "I am from Oyo State and we have only one minister and we are not complaining. Can you point out one state in Nigeria that doesn't have a minister? One minister for Plateau resigned and he was replaced with another one." When? Oh yes, recently. Was recently.
You know that Lagosha, if we don't have any minister, I will not be able to be bothered. Yes, okay. Having a minister in Lagos, what does it do to me as a Lagosian? What does it contribute to the economy of Lagos? How does that ensure a functional Lagos?
Because the minister serves the country.
So it doesn't serve Lagos directly. If it's among the politicians, the world of this country, although it's a constitutional provision, and so we have to follow the law, and then also begin to talk about equity and fairness. Well, I'm sorry. The law does not appoint anybody from Lagos. The only concern for me when it comes to Lagos will be what the federal government is doing when it comes to the development of Lagos and what my governor is doing.
Yeah.
Because the minister, how does the minister?
You're right.
I have senators, assembly members.
Buy street light for you.
But the minister, Mr. Labu now, he's been busy with the power sector. Has he has any direct impact on the living standard of people in Oyo State as a minister of power? No. Even the ones that have been appointed from Lagos, I'm sorry, I've not really been able to say exactly what they've been able to do. That will now begin to complain if they were not appointed as a Lagosha.
It's okay.
These things will always come up.
Well, 13 minutes past 8 is still on the front page of the Punch newspaper. We're moving away now from the cabinet reshuffle conversation or governance costs conversation, which is on pages 2 and 28, on to other stories here. Just above the masthead, we have here, Senate OK's 15% state funding for regional development commissions, and that's on page 27. And Fuad, we started this conversation as regards, the fact that, okay, so we have Southwest Development Commission, we have Northeast Development Commission, I think we have about 4 or 5 development.
6 regions now.
Everybody has a development, and now we have a Ministry of Regional Development. Okay, and the conversation around it was, so all the 6 states, for example, in the Southwest will contribute to the commission, the Southwest Regional Commission. So now what we have in the report is that 15% has been approved by the Senate from the Consolidated Revenue Fund as source of funding for the newly developed zonal development.
It became a problem at plenary yesterday.
Is it serious? Don't you think it's a problem? The governors are saying
the governors are going to take this.
They say they don't have enough money, and then you're still going to take
it
for something that they may or may not do, because some of the.
Let us ask ourselves why do we actually need a development commission for the region?
For region development.
Whereas you have governors.
Exactly.
Right? You have local government chairmen who are supposed to want to develop their individual states. These individual states are components of the region. So why can't we have a development commission again? So we're just duplicating duties. And at the end of the day, it's just job for the boys. The appointments are going to get larger. So it creates bigger room for political patronage and satisfaction of political jobbers. You understand? Because at the end of the day, it's just merely duplicating duties and creating more opportunities for appointment and satisfaction of political jobbers who would always hang around and lobby themselves into power or positions of authority. That's why do we need development commissions actually. And for those regions that used to have development commission, how are those development commissions held them? Let's dialogue Africa. For those that use Niger Delta, for example, you know what has become of the NDDC?
Off your mic. I will off your mic. It's okay. It's okay. Anyways, the approval has followed consideration and adoption by the Senate. The lawmakers were divided over the source of funding. Now, how are we going to fund, So I want to ask a question. I'm so sorry. So, the Ministry of Regional Development, would they get funding separate from the commissions themselves?
The ministry, they have to run the ministry.
So they will get funding, and then the commissions will also get funding.
See what the commissions are doing. So you see.
What's going on?
It's a ministry now. They're going to run as a full ministry. You know what is? They will have ministers, have PAs, have all manner of things, have staff, have buildings. And now that it's even going to be a ministry to run or to monitor all development commissions, they're going to have regional offices, regional officers. God knows how big their mandate will be. A mandate that will amount to eventually doing nothing.
Hey.
All motion without movement. You will see.
Because okay, so let's just get this straight. The development commissions would have, DGs or MDs or whatnot.
Of course, they have boards.
They will have, okay, and then these boards or this DG or this MD would report to the Ministry of Regional Development.
Will it report to who?
The minister.
You see, like I said, we create these things. Of course, they are going to come around now trying to justify. Too many English will come into it now position. But I know what I'm saying, Sandra. And if you look at even what we've done, because again, the appointments of the boards of this development commission will be done at the federal level. I don't know what will be what's it called, the part the states would have to play in who becomes what in these development commissions. If you look at how politics is made in Nigeria, don't be surprised that these development commissions will also be like a political structure, in those regions. Sandra, it's a very complex thing. Don't let us, but people understand. I'm sure people listening to me understand what I'm saying. Some of these things is more political consideration than what can really come out of it when it comes to nation building. I don't want to keep expanding it without any justifiable reason.
It's okay. It's all right. Anyways, the provision will lead to some legal challenges from state governments.
States will challenge it.
Of course, no state will be willing to allow its statutory allocation to be reduced. These are state governors that we have already said they should release.
Especially when we know that these development commissions may become a form of political structure for the ruling party. NDC, for example, most of the people that are currently appointed in the board, according to reports, are all nominees of Yᴏᴜᴛ.
There is a way we can have a conversation.
According to reports.
Without wickets just popping up everywhere. It's all right. Well, the story is on page 27. 15% of, from the states for regional development commissions. But they will talk, and I'm sure Ḥèyí Mákindé will soon respond very, very soon. Just give him time.
Ḥèyí Mákindé is floating now. What people are saying that Ḥèyí Mákindé looks
His
like
Excellency.
Someone who is in the PDP in the morning. At night, he looks like someone who is dining with JP.
Ḥèyí Mákindé is a swing state. I mean, he's a swing member.
God bless you.
He's a swing.
The purple state of Nigeria. The purple governor of Nigeria.
Purple governor of Nigeria.
He's not swinging. He could go either way.
Anyway. The sound of page 27 of
you put your legs into both sides. One leg here, one leg there.
It's okay. We wish him all the
best.
We wish him all the best. I do not know. I do not know why. How are you doing this to me? Let's move on to this Shettima story for her very, very quickly. Broken aircraft windscreen aborts Shettima's Samoa trip. And what we have is that the Vice President will no longer represent Nigeria at the 2024 Commonwealth Heads of Government Summit in Samoa. The trip was cancelled after a foreign object, quote and unquote, hit his plane during a stopover at JFK in New York. So it is now a delegation that's led by the Minister of Environment, Balarabe Lawal, will now go and represent Nigeria there. No, so wait, how is Minister Balarabe Lawal going to get there?
They're going to charter flight from Nigeria.
Why did the Vice President not do the same?
God bless you, Sandra. God bless you for that question. Now, this is it, Sandra. The Vice President was at UNGA, right?
Yes.
National General Assembly.
Yes.
And then we're going to have the CHOGO, the Commonwealth of Government meeting in Samoa.
Mm-hmm.
And then, something happened. The windscreen of the
crack.
presidential aircraft Vice President had issues. They were to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, the Vice President aborted going for the Commonwealth of Government meeting in Samoa.
And
he will be coming back to Nigeria, and then from Nigeria we'll be sending ministers.
Environment. Why? Okay, yes, carry on. Anyways,
no,
just a lot.
The question is that why can't the Vice President charter an aircraft from the US to Samoa?
Mm-hmm.
to attend that meeting. So the perception this has created is that look, the vice president cannot fly chartered flight. It has to be a part of the presidential jet that he must fly. And so because he was not available, he can't go. So for that event, he has to be on the presidential jet, part of the presidential fleet. Why? Can't the vice president, again, as part of the sacrifice we've been talking about, can't he fly commercial?
I'm intrigued, as a matter of fact, because Onanuga went on to reveal that the vice president and the foreign affairs minister Yusuf Tuggar, they have actually left New York for Nigeria.
Yeah, but they are to Nigeria.
So there's a plane that's bringing them to Nigeria, but that plane can't take them to Samoa.
Because the president, part of the presidential aircraft is damaged.
Wow.
And then we now send people from Nigeria. You know the same thing that happened with the president, who was in France. And then we had the vice president was to go to Sweden. And then the president was going back to Nigeria. People are saying, why can't the president just take a 2-hour flight to Sweden to attend that 2-day event than sending the vice president there? And further, again, let us also pay attention to the fact that, look, when it comes to our representation at important meetings, global meetings, there seems to be a problem. The UN General Assembly meeting is a meeting that you expect the president to attend. The president came back to Nigeria and signed Shettima there. Now we're having the Commonwealth Head of Government meeting. The president is not going. The vice president is not going. Now we're sending ministers. So if you put it together, I think there's a problem somewhere. Whether we accept it or not, it's not looking tidy. I'm sorry. When it comes to processes, procedures, and when it comes to foreign diplomacy as it says the way it ought to be, there's a problem somewhere with the way the government is running.
Yeah. Well, the presidency has said Shettima, actually heeded the advice. That the advice came from the presidential air fleet to shelve the trip, and that's why
they have another aircraft to the place. But an aircraft is bringing it to Nigeria.
It's all right. I'm just.
See what we have been doing.
That's how it is. That's where we are. The story is on page 2 of the Punch newspaper, and finally, off the front page of the Punch newspaper, we have here, as expected, of course, naira devaluation has pushed the federal government and also state government's debt to 134 trillion naira, as against what we had been discussing earlier on 121.
121 trillion. By this last year, December, it was about 97 trillion.
97. Earlier this year, it jumped up to 121. All of this is, as regards, because, a lot of all these are foreign debts, all right? And, of course, we have to pay in foreign currency, which, of course...
And as our currency continues to devalue, this is what you get.
The money keeps getting higher. And with this getting higher, our deficit would also, go up.
Debt servicing will also get higher.
Yes. Debt servicing would also go higher. We're already at a point where we are using 90% of our revenue.
Well, they say it has dropped recently, but again, I don't know how it works now.
Say
property is going up.
There's a lot that they've said of what. I don't know if you saw the the report as regards the foreign reserves. I don't know if you saw that, but there's a lot that they said the foreign reserve has increased to 40 billion, but then the naira is still depreciating. I don't know how that works.
Yeah, because what the economy now is that we can't continue to defend the naira. We are allowed to float. At the parallel market today, the papers are reporting 1,740 something naira.
Benny. And so we're looking at a 2,000 before the end of the year.
That's what we are working. That's what we're doing. That's the projection. God forbid.
God forbid bad things.
The way we said God forbid to 1,000 to $1. Now we are now saying God forbid to 2,000. Maybe one day we'll be saying God forbid to 5,000 to $1.
Fuad, it's okay. Please, it's okay. Moving on now, still on the front page. This is Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM. We're moving on now to the Guardian newspaper. And don't forget, we are live on Facebook and YouTube at Mainland 98.3 FM. So, the major headline on the front page of the Guardian calls for military intervention. Misery, harsh policies are driving Nigerians to desperate choices. Fuad.
Desperate and terrible choices.
Desperate and terrible choices. We have been having this conversation. Some people are, calling on some. For
military. Yeah.
military to come back. Some people going as far as saying that the worst of military administration is better than the best of a civilian administration. That conversation has gone on. But what we have in this report now is Nigerians were exhilarated with the return of democracy in 1999, or 25 years after the buccaneering nature of politicians, their penchant for poor service delivery, morbid hatred for probity, accountability, and credible, transparent election, among others, are forcing some flustered citizens to make extreme choices, including calling for military intervention in governance. So the conversation is here looking at a deep despondency permeates every facet of the polity consequent upon sorry cost of living. Now, while the political elites splurge on fine wines and exotic automobiles amid poor service delivery, calls for a regime change could be more strident in the days ahead, even though the military insurrection holds no solution in the country's woes.
I hope our political leaders, the current leaders under this democratic dispensation, are paying attention to these things. Because again, we can only do our own part of the job. As a first essay of them to say that, look, we should not even put that conversation on the table. It can never be an option. You understand what I'm saying? That we can't even be talking about the return of the military. We knew what we had to do, to push back the military into the barracks, to return the khaki boys to work where they should be. But the question is, from 1999 till today, have our politicians in their attitude, character, behavior, giving confidence in the people that democracy is actually the best form of government? And that's why the question has always been, do we really have a democracy or a civil government, a civilian government? That look, it's not just we just have civilians. We really don't know what democracy should be. Because if democracy is about the government of the people, by the people, and for the people, in what we've done from 1999 till today, how well have we made the people the centerpiece and center point of our policies and actions in government? How well have we been able to use the democracy to better the loss of the people? Those are the questions. And that's why people are getting to the point where they are now looking at this extremely terrible choice of returning the military to government.
I mean, Dr. Ƴemi is saying, and I quote, the increasing calls for military intervention is not necessarily that the citizens do not love democracy. It's more because the leaders are not democratic in deeds and truth. The fact that they are civilians does not make them democratic. There's a massive disconnect between the people and those governing them.
That's it. And nobody can afford that kind of argument. And that's why we're begging the current leaders of this nation to please pay attention to this thing. When the Titanic was going to sink, Sandra, even at the point where the ship was sinking, so people were rearranging their chairs to start the party.
All right, thank you for it.
So we're just hoping, we are begging. Please let the people get the dividends of democracy. Pay attention to their cry. Let government work for the prosperity of the people. Not just the few you have in government.
All right. Thank you very much. As much as we'd have loved to dig deeper into that conversation, it's the big story on pages 4 and 5, the major headline on the front page of The Guardian. It's quite an interesting read. You may want to dig deep into that. We also have here, federal government begins reform of obsolete laws. That's on page 7. There's some outdated laws, and we need to update them to modernized, to reflect the modern. To hear from Yahya. So the other guy and
the guy will go first.
He went to the mosque to pray, and then from there, he prayed into the heavens. It's okay. That's lovely.
This one is released on humanitarian ground. But Sandra, all the talk about violence in the problem now, that we are only shooting 1,000 and something.
Because you kept people in prison and the thing is still going. Is it from prison that they're still hiking it? But
I'm saying that all that this one has gone back to his country now on humanitarian ground. And the last one is the country. Which country?
That's all we can take for this morning on Trends in the Papers. Thank you so much for staying with us. But don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. We'll be back very shortly for Milan Focus, where you get to be a part of the conversation. Please stay tuned.